my dears. Hello. So nice to see you. Welcome to my little cottage. Oh, there are so many dear old friends. Lucy, darling, how are your beautiful chrysanthemums? Good to hear. Griselda. Yes. You're Griselda as well? You must tell the vicar how much I enjoyed his sermon on Sunday.
I would definitely do that.
Oh, good. Dolly, I do hope the Colonel has recovered from his cough.
He has.
Good, because it's such a terrible thing to be stricken with a cough.
Yes.
My dear friends, I'm sure all of you would like to say hello to me, but since there are so many of you, why don't we take care of it all together? I shall count to 3, and on the count of 3, you shall shout out all at once, well, hello, my dear. My, oh my, don't you look lovely today? Are you ready?
Yes.
1, 2, 3.
Well, hello, my dear. My, oh my, don't you look lovely today?
Do you really think so? Why, thank you. Down to business, shall we? As all of you know, just 6 months ago, on August the 7th, 1957, our dear little village of St. Mary Mead was woefully beset by murder. Yes. And a horrible murder it was. Will people never change? Here we are in these modern times, and the human animal is just as cruel and savage as it ever was. Well, my friends, I'm delighted to announce that at last the murder has been solved. And as is sometimes the case, your dear little friend, Miss Jane Marple, had some slight opportunity of assisting in the investigation. And having all the information now that I did not have at the time, I'm ready to tell the story. Would you like to hear it?
Yes.
Good. Then sit back and pour yourself a cup of tea, for I find nothing goes quite so well with murder as a nice cup of tea. So where shall we begin? Of course, it was late in the night, and scattered here and there throughout the village were all of our story's most important characters. My friends, can you guess just which 2 of these folks were meeting in secret that night? You can say what they're wearing, point.
Pink sweater.
Pink sweater and orange shirt. My friends, can you guess where they were meeting? At the local coffee shop, I believe you mean.
No, she meant the pub.
Gloria.
Alfred!
So nice of you to join me here this evening.
Why so secretive? And why in a coffee shop that's not even open?
This is the best place that no prying ears or eyes can see us or hear us.
Well,
Gloria,
what is it then?
Gloria, I must say that this romance between us has been quite enchanting and unexpected for me.
As it was for me. You being my postal worker and all.
Well, I do love to deliver my package to you. Gloria,
Say it, Alfred.
you see, though I am a mere postal worker, a job which I do with pride and honor, my family, they are of higher status, and my father, the Duke, he insists that I wed another. And I do not know how to tell him no. My heart is with you. I only
Then
want to...
tell him no! Tell him no, then, if you really love me.
Of course, I really love you.
I didn't know you were a duke. That's very cool.
Can you
princess line of makeup. You know what the royal colors would be.
Gloria, I am conflicted. I'm torn between my family and my love for you, and I do not know what to do. I feel weak in my moments of vulnerability.
I don't like weakness, Alfred. You've got to be a man. You've got to be strong.
Yes, I must stand up to him.
Exactly.
I must tell him, Father, I'm in love with Gloria, and I will not marry another woman. No matter the consequence.
Exactly.
Yes.
Would you like me to come with you and help you?
Would you do it for me?
Well, I hope this isn't going to be indicative of the rest of our relationship. I think you need to do it.
You're right, my love. Well, let us be off then.
Next time I get coffee.
Darling,
Yes, Elizabeth.
do sit down for a minute. I have something that may be a little bit upsetting to you, so I'm just going to need you to listen.
Nothing could upset me today, darling. Here we are in the manor house of our dreams, looking out upon the gardens and looking up upon those we love. What could be sour on such a fruitful day as today?
Well, darling, that's just the point, you see. You know that lovely portrait of your sainted mother, Agatha.
Ah, yes, the Grand Duchess Agatha.
Yes, the 10-foot by 12-foot portrait.
I do apologize, it's so small.
Yes. Well, you see, just the other day, today actually, I was dusting around that portrait, and I set it down and put it in the fireplace to rest for a minute. But you see, what I didn't notice was that there was actually a fire. So I rushed outside to get a hose where I came back in and quickly tried to put that fire out, you see. And then as I watched it burn up, I had to sit down for a minute where I had a quick drink of tea. And then, darling, well, you see,
Darling, are you telling me you burned Mother?
it was quite by accident. Really.
Darling, even though your forgetfulness has once again resulted in a large-sized portrait of Mother being destroyed, I can't for a moment be angry today. Do you see, my darling, today is a marvelous day. As you know, I have had some trepidation about our young boy, Alfred. I feel he's not stepping into his aristocratic footing as I had always hoped he would. Now I realize the aristocracy is a dying breed to some. Here we are in 1957, and barely are there balls anymore. But I have balls, darling. I have large, grand scale balls. And I intend for the aristocracy to continue on, and therefore I have found a woman for Alfred to marry.
Oh, that's lovely, dear. I wish he had inherited your balls. So, honestly, my love, tell me about this woman.
Ah, yes. She is the daughter of an Ethiopian princess who has been adopted at birth through a strange series of circumstances that are far too unimportant to recount.
Well, that's lovely. She's of royal blood.
Yes, and I discovered her, and I made her acquaintance with our family, and she is interested in meeting Alfred. And I tell you, once the two of them are together, I guarantee you that she shall love him, and he shall love her, and our royal line shall be perpetuated.
My friends, there's one little hiccup in this plan. And our dear lady here was remembering that. Can you guess what that hiccup was? What's that? Chairs.
Heirs.
Hairs. Hairbrushes.
Darling, is there something on your mind?
Well, yes. You see, I do love to give our guests hairbrushes. And if she is to meet our lovely family, this is embarrassing for me, I have no hairbrushes in the house. How would that make me look?
But darling, no need to worry. Ever since I was a boy, I've saved all of Mother's hairbrushes.
Darling, I hate to tell you this, but you're bald, and there is no reason why we have hairbrushes in the house except for me, and I don't have any left, and you know how much I love your sainted mother.
Darling,
Yes?
don't worry, come. You and I shall go right down to town right now, and we shall buy a hairbrush that you can give to the beautiful princess when you meet her.
Oh, you're so good ideas. I love you so much.
Stephanie, come, my dear, don't cry. As a noble princess of the Ethiopian line of many adoptions, as your mother also adopted, indeed, I'm here to tell you we must marry you off. We must. Sit down.
I never thought I was the most eligible person to be married, but if you think so, Mother, I would love it.
I found you the perfect suitor, and it will happen.
Okay, what do I need to do?
You need to be more Ethiopian.
It doesn't sound very politically correct, Mother.
It is not at all. In fact, at this day and age in 1957, all those years from the dreaded war that feels like just yesterday, I feel somewhat sacrilegious having to do this.
Yes.
But be yourself, oh do.
What's wrong with me?
What's wrong with me? My dear friends, can you guess what she felt was wrong with her? She felt everything was wrong with her.
Everything is wrong with you.
Everything is... Do you see my hair?
Yes.
My arms?
Yes.
My everything, my personality, my taste in men, my taste in cats, my taste in everything. It's just wrong.
Well, the main thing that is wrong with you is that you're not Ethiopian. And this is a very big thing, so we're going to have to hide it in the best way possible without making a mockery of it all. Do you understand?
No.
We'll have to study. Study, my dear. Study culture.
Okay.
We need to study where we've come from, even though we've all been adopted. I don't think there's one Ethiopian among us.
Oh, you know, great-grandfather was Ethiopian.
Oh, thank goodness for that! You have saved the day. Look at that. You're not a total loss. They will refer to great-grandpa every time. Now, my dear, let's go out into the garden and get you ready for the meeting.
Thank you, Mama.
Eugenia.
Oh, I just had the most lovely time in London. You know, they're playing all the greatest jazz there. It's so wonderful that we don't have to be like Alfred and be proper and continue the family line. I just may move to Canada.
Well, Eugenia, you may wish to move to Canada and live a life there without responsibilities of the royal family. Let me tell you, I have some exciting news, Eugenia.
Ooh, I love exciting news.
Well,
Pray tell.
you know I have that cottage behind mine that's empty, and I've leased it to a family from Ethiopia.
Whoa.
Yes.
Ethiopia, you know, I went there in the early 50s.
I know you did.
It
And
was
you came
so
back.
exotic. I loved it.
Yes, I know. And you came back with that jewelry that extended your neck. It's so lovely, though. I do like it.
Thank you, darling.
You know, a package arrived, and I do believe it was for them, but I opened it, you see. It was a package with a book inside. I rewrapped it and put it on their stoop. But I had to look at it. It was the history of Ethiopian food culture and the demise of the Western civilization.
Boring.
Well, I just flipped through it and read it entirely in one sitting. Quite meeting.
Curious. Oh, my darling, please. What did it have to say?
Well, it said something about their disdain for Western culture. Well, they don't drink tea. So, I'm quite worried about this Ethiopian family moving in and not drinking tea.
Well,
That is my greatest concern
hopefully
here.
it will be liquor, don't you think?
Oh dear, Eugenia, you are such a troublemaker.
Such like causing trouble.
Well, I don't want St. Mary Mead to have any more trouble.
It's so quaint here. It's almost quaint as a duck.
Oh, Eugenia, my ducks are not quaint. You know, I feather them so that they have exotic hairstyles.
Ah, Alfred, my boy, do sit here. I say the gardens are looking beautiful today. Wouldn't you agree, my son?
Yes, Father, they're quite lovely as usual.
Alfred, I have excellent news to share with you.
I'm excited to hear this.
Yes, well, you know, I have looked for some time for the day the sun would break through the clouds of your apprehension of stepping into the royal shoes that have been made for you from the time you were a child. And now I know exactly what you need in order to find the manly courage and become the duke you were born to be upon my demise. And that, of course, is a woman. Cheers. Yes, right. So, I have found a woman that you are to marry.
Father, there's something that I must share with you as well.
Today is a day for sharing, then, is it not? Go on.
Father, times are changing. After the war, England, everyone seems to want to have a new start in life, a new outlook on things.
If there's one thing the aristocracy frowns on, it's new. Listen to me, boy. It's very important to me that the old traditions be preserved. You remember your beloved grandmama, don't you?
Of course I do.
The woman of whom we used to have several pictures.
Yes, Mama keeps burning them. Discarding them for no reason.
She's an absent-minded woman, but that's not important. What is important is that my mother was the most upstanding woman that I had ever known. And when my two brothers were killed in the war, I barely was able to regroup from that loss. You don't know, and you can't ever know what it means to lose a brother, Alfred. And for your grandmother to lose two children. But she was a tower of strength. And if not for her strength, seeing me through, why, I don't know what I might have turned to. And on her deathbed, she put her hand in mine and she said, "Son, you must preserve the past, for it is the past in which we find our strength." And I promised her, as she exhaled her final breath, that I would preserve the past. And the two of us knew what we meant. We meant through you.
My dear friends, Alfred knew about a dirty little stain in their family past about Grandmama. Can you guess what that was?
She was an astronomer.
An affair. You're correct.
Father, if I may be so bold as to remark that Grandmama had an affair that is quite a stretch.
You take that back.
I will not, Father.
What are you saying? How dare you sit in her house and talk to me about something as scurrilous as that?
I will no longer be in your shadow of this family anymore. I do not wear my name with pride anymore, Father. I've always been told what to do ever since I was a young child. I will not do it anymore. I'm in love with another woman. I will not go through with this marriage that you have proposed to me. I'm my own man.
You are not a man at all. And if I hear you cast one more aspersion about my mother, I guarantee you there shall be hell to pay!
I guarantee you there shall be hell to pay. My dears, shortly after those words were spoken, someone in our story was found to be dead. But who do you think it was? My friends, can you guess who was murdered? Eugenia? My friends, I agree, I was devastated. And that poor woman's body was discovered like this.
Elizabeth, darling, what is it?
Oh dear, you must sit for this. Please, take a seat anywhere. That's fine. Oh dear, I have something so terrible to tell you. You see,
I have on my terrible face.
yes, oh very good. My dear Eugenia, my sister.
Eugenia, yes?
Your cousin. Eugenia! I was feeding my ducks. I left the duck pond. I walked up the cobblestone path and I went by her cottage. I thought, oh, I should stop in and see her. Well, I went up the path to her door. Her door was slightly ajar. Not ajar, but slightly open, you see. So I knocked. Eugenia? Eugenia? No answer.
Well, that's not like her.
No, indeed. She's so vocal, you know. So I pushed the door open completely. I walked in. I looked about. I couldn't see anything. I saw what I thought was a Turkish carpet on the floor. But no! It was all Eugenia flattened. No! Completely flattened.
And she looked like a carpet.
She had all of the patterns of a carpet. I was at once attracted to it as a piece of art and repulsed by it as a cadaver. Oh, dear God! Oh, darling!
Oh dear, is it true?
Oh, yes,
It is true, my love. Eugenia's gone.
Our dear daughter! Did you forget, darling?
I did. In that moment, I thought she was a carpet. I was so focused on that.
She was your own daughter. I'm amazed we got through all these years without you burning her in a fire.
I'm so focused on our son being the heir, I don't care about our daughter as much.
Oh, we must get rid of this carpet here now. I cannot bear to look upon it.
Every carpet in the house reminds me of Eugenia now.
My friends, at that moment, our dear St. Mary Mead's Detective Inspector Craddock was on the case.
Well, hello. It is such a pleasure to be in the presence of the Duke and Duchess.
You must forgive us, Inspector. We are all rather distraught about the death of one of our own family members, our daughter.
Yes. I was very distraught because, as you know, I revere you all as if you were my heroes, the Duke and the Duchess and the children who I...
Come, Inspector. Surely you have business to attend to rather than flap-jabbering about us.
Really do get to the point. I'm forgetting what she looked like. And I'm only a lady thrice removed. Really not royalty at all.
Well, I will stop sucking up to you and start to question each and every one of you now. Where were you, sir, when your daughter was found?
Why? Well, let's see, there I was. Oh, I remember exactly. I had gone out to the garage in order to make sure that the cars were properly oiled, and when I arrived there, I remember I overheard a conversation. It was my son Alfred talking to Robert, the mechanic, and they were talking something to do with the car, I don't know, and then I saw Alfred walk out of the garage holding a crowbar.
I see.
A crowbar?
Yes?
I do believe I saw a crowbar laying next to the carpet. I thought, how strange, I thought it was perhaps a piece of elegant jewelry that she'd brought back from some faraway place.
A crowbar?
It was indeed a crowbar, now that I think upon it. Yes.
Are you suggesting that Alfred had something to do with the death of his sister?
No! Not our Alfred.
At that moment, Beatrice, what did she know about Alfred that was suspicious? Could you guess?
Brussels.
Brussels sprouts? Yeah. Brussels sprouts.
Father. Well, I call you father, but really I'm your niece. But I have something to say about my cousin. You see, Alfred had a thing about broccoli.
But at least it wasn't Brussels sprouts. Unless you know something.
But he was confused, you see. They both began with a B. He would always think that one was the other. One looked like a small brain. The other like a small tree, but they both began with the letter B. And you see, it was confusing him and it was driving him crazy. And I believe that this would have driven a man to do something unusual.
Are you saying that because he was confused about the difference between Brussels sprouts and broccoli, he killed his own sister?
I'm only saying what I know.
Why don't you say what you're not saying, which is that you always hated Eugenia?
Oh, really?
You were always jealous of her, weren't you?
Well, why wouldn't I be? She was the one that got to travel. She was the one with the proper title. I was only a lady thrice removed. Of course I was jealous of her.
You look here. This stain that's going to be cast upon the family name. If that gets out, if the police oh, damn it.
Well, I dare say that I'm in a predicament, for you see that you are my lords and ladies, and I'm not even sure I have the power to arrest any of you, but I will tell you that I will find who has killed our darling Eugenia if it's the last thing I do, and in fact, it might very well be the last thing that I do as a detective inspector, for this will be my last case.
Oh, dear.
But I dare not trouble you all with that now. Good day.
Mama,
Yes.
I have much news to tell you.
Oh, no.
Please sit. I have done much reading about Ethiopia.
Have you?
Yes.
Excellent.
I have decided that the reason I hate everything about myself is because I feel like a fraud.
You are.
I don't truly feel Ethiopian, and so I have made a big decision.
And what is that?
I am going to leave behind the family legacy and be myself fully, without claiming the Ethiopian heritage any longer. It just doesn't feel right.
Well, then you will give up royalty. You will give up everything that we've ever known.
Well, yes, but see, I have a plan. So, I will still marry Alfred.
Oh,
Good, yes.
Okay.
It will still be set, Mother, don't worry.
All right.
But it just feels like something I must do.
Well,
Do I have your support?
no. You do not. Stand up. I'm going to slap you. Oh, I'm sorry. I must do that because as someone who is also not fully Ethiopian, the fact that you would come out and be so independent independent. It worries me. It worries me, your ideas of political correctness and all of that. It worries me that you'll create some sort of democracy or something horrible. And what really worries me the most is that we will find out that everyone will find out that we're penniless, that we have no money, that the only thing we hold is this title of royalty that means nothing, which is why you must hold on to this, because they won't marry you if you're not royalty.
Oh, Mother, I know that you feel terrible that Father left and took all the money and that we haven't told any of the public about our dire situation. But, Mama, you are still worthy.
I love you.
I love you too.
But no, you must stay. Royalty in Ethiopian is the only thing I have to my name. Please.
Mother, it's something I must do. I am going to go to Alfred's house right away and tell him the news.
If you do that, I don't know what will happen to me.
If you do that, I don't know what will happen to me. My friends, quite the plea. And I am so sorry to report that after those words were spoken, someone in our story was dead.
Oh.
Yes. Shocking. But can you guess who it was?
Oh, no.
My friend, can you guess who was murdered? Alfred. Oh.
Wow.
And the poor man's body was discovered like this.
Darling! Listen very, very carefully. Alfred was your son. Now that you're fully aware of that, sit down. He's dead!
What? Alfred, my sweet, sweet Alfred, he's what?
All my chicks in one fell swoop.
No! Euphoria and now Alfred? I mean Eugenia and now Alfred?
You really didn't care for her, did you?
Oh, darling.
Oh, but
Tell me what happened.
it was horrifying. I was down by the pond, thinking such a nice day deserves a foot bath. And so I went to the pond and I took off my boots and my socks and I wriggled my toes in preparation of dipping them into the pond, when suddenly Alfred's bloated body bubbled up from the pond. His eyes were as large as grapefruits. His hands were mangled like, I don't know, broccoli, Brussels sprouts.
So you're saying he looked like your mother, Agatha? Awful.
Yeah. And as I reached out a shaking hand to him, he floated away and was used as a resting place for the ducks.
It was at this point that I had entered the story.
Oh, Jane.
Oh dear Jane.
Duke, Duchess, what a horrible tragedy. 2 children gone.
Jane, you must forgive us calling you and asking you over like this, but as you know, I'm in no position to think clearly when trouble besets me. An old family friend such as yourself surely knows that about my dithering mind.
I do.
And I just, as a mother, I can't take it. My dear Esther and Alfred.
Can I have a moment alone, please?
Oh, yes.
You go lie down.
Jane. I know you don't always like to be used for your incredible crime-solving abilities.
I don't mind.
But if you could help us out.
Of course.
Oh, please. Darling.
My dear.
Oh, Jane, this is just awful.
My dear, I just came from the doctor's office.
Yes.
He's told me that you are not taking your medicine for your forgetfulness.
Well, I haven't been taking it, you're right. It just makes me feel silly, and I need to function. You see, I have a duty, and I'm a duchess, and if George sees me not behaving in the way that a duchess should behave, which that medication makes me just loopy, I can't take it.
Well, that is quite the pickle, but I also know that in cases such as yours, unfortunately and fortunately, there's no diagnosis and name for it, but I know what it is because I've seen it before.
What is it?
Folks in your condition can sometimes forget what they do.
Well, I remember what I do. I know that I gave birth to 2 sons. I've raised them to be
This is more short-term, my darling. I'll come out with it. You might not know if you have done something nefarious to your own children.
No, are you saying I've hurt my darling children?
I'm saying it's possible in your condition.
Oh dear, but they're just babies. How could that be?
My dear, they're grown. Were grown.
Oh dear. Jane, what are you saying? That I'm ill?
Jane, I'm so confused. It might be rubbing off on me. My dear, what I'm saying is that you need to get your help.
Oh, I shall get right on it. Please don't tell George.
I will not tell a soul, including that detective inspector.
Okay, I shall go take care of myself immediately.
Well, thank you for meeting me here in my office, Jane.
Yes, detective inspector.
Please, take a seat. Please don't trouble your voice, for I have something that I wish to tell you, and it might be a little lengthy, but don't you worry. Well, I am encroaching on my final case as a detective inspector. Well, you see, these past 15 years that I've been solving cases here in the great St. Mary Mead has been such a wonderful part of my life, and most of that is thanks to you. You see, I couldn't have solved many of these cases unless... You're quite right, Jane. Your mind, articulate as ever, has always been a source of great comfort to me, and I always know that I can come to you should I ever have a blockage in a case. But now, I tell you, I mark my final case, and what a great day it is to say that it will be to solve the murder of the daughter and son of the Duke and Duchess. For you see, after that, well, Jane, I found a love in one of my officers. And after this case, well, my dream is for the 2 of us to travel the world. I will lay down my tie and my notepad, and I will finally get time to travel 7 seas and all the continents. And I just want to thank you for all these years. This may be our final case, and I wanted to introduce you to my love.
Oh, sorry to interrupt, sir. I just wanted you to know. Oh.
Officer Withersworth, I believe.
Yes. I'm so honored to meet you, Miss Marple. I've heard so much about you.
Oh, well, come forward, my dear. Don't be shy.
Well,
You're practically a daughter-in-law for me.
Oh,
I see him like a son.
oh my God. That's beyond my greatest dreams. Thank you. I believe I have a book here that I found at the estate, and it's about the history of Ethiopia and their customs, and there's markers on the murder chapters.
Oh.
I don't know who might have done it, but I understand from the checkout that it's the daughter.
Cassandra, my love, you shouldn't even be working this case. Why, you should be packing your bags for... We will be off into... Well, first, we shall go to Egypt. We shall ride camels.
Beyond my wildest dreams. You accepting me and you taking me to Egypt. Oh, my lord, this is the best. The absolute best.
George, thank you so much for meeting me at the coffee shop. As you know, we Ethiopians do not drink tea. We only drink coffee. Yes.
Strange name of this coffee shop, Starbucks.
Yes. Very strange.
I doubt it will ever catch on.
First, my deepest condolences to you and your family.
For a moment, the aroma of good coffee left my mind clear of woe. Yes.
We had an agreement, and I cannot let that agreement go. I know you only have one thrice remaining daughter.
But I don't understand. My son is dead. Surely you can't expect me to abide by a contract of marriage between your daughter and my son if my son is dead.
You're right, but I can ask you to abide by the contract that our families will join. And the only way that can happen now is with your daughter and my daughter. It must happen. It is the only way.
What the hell are you talking about?
What I am talking about is something beyond my time. I am talking about the fact that you need our royalty. I know very clearly your background. I know for sure that you are also in quite a challenging predicament.
Our dear friend was under a false assumption that Beatrice was his daughter. However, she was a cousin to the deceased.
Do you understand now?
It does not change anything.
Sure it does. If it was my own daughter, I'd be happy to sell her off into marriage to yours. But she's not my daughter. She's my sister's. Oh, I don't know who the hell she is. But the bottom line is, she is not going to marry your daughter. The contract between us is null and void.
Null and void?
Null and void.
You listen to me. We do not take breaking of contracts lightly. And whether she is a cousin, a servant, or anything else in your humble household, there will be a marriage.
And I say there will not. And if you ever dare to darken my estate again,
then what?
Then there shall be trouble.
Then there shall be trouble. Oh, you're catching on. You're thinking there's another murder.
Yes.
Not yet. Oh, my dear friend, look at the time. Why don't we all take a nice little break? Friends, I hope you all enjoyed your break.
Yes.
Good. Where were we? Ah, yes. The princess and the duke were arguing over the marriage contract, at which point she said,
Then what?
Then there shall be trouble.
Well, immediately after that.
There shall be more trouble than you could ever imagine. I warn you, princess, I am a powerful, powerful man.
George. I know you, George. And your power I've known as well. George.
I'm standing behind you, listening. Intently.
What I'm saying, George, is the reason I know is we go back. And that is the secret I hold over your head. We've been familiar with one another, George. George?
I'm still behind you. Listen. Lucy.
No one's called me by my name, and I don't know how long.
Perhaps since that last night you and I were together on the tundra. When we took that trip up north.
It was so arid and dry, and yet on that tundra and cold.
Tundras are strange places.
One of the most strangest geological places there are.
I'll say.
But there was that warmth, and I've always remembered that, and that is why, George, I want to be part of the family again, and this was the only way I could think of.
Listen, that adopted child of yours.
It's not an adoption, it's your baby.
Still behind you! Lucy!
What? I know I should have been more delicate in how I brought the news and all, but it was the most opportune time to tell you.
Are you saying
Yes.
that you attempted to marry my biological daughter to my biological son?
George, I had to!
You didn't have to!
George! We have nothing left.
Well, we have less now!
George, everything's been taken. And unless we somehow find a way into your family, we're ruined. And your daughter, she'll end up on the streets with nothing. Do you want that?
Lucy, I have a wife. I have a life. I am a member of Parliament, for crying out loud. Do you think I could possibly become involved with somebody like you now?
Yes! And the only reason I say that is because if not, I will tell everybody. Yes, I am blackmailing you. I am standing in front of you, blackmailing you.
I see. You have no proof.
I have proof.
What do you have?
I have Stephanie. And if you notice her carefully, she has the same twitches you do in your left hand. And that alone, any doctor will testify, is hereditary.
Medical quackery!
I do not think so. Because not only is the twitch there, George, your eyes are the same.
I fear if this conversation goes on, I shan't be able to keep up. Lucy.
George.
I am on bended knee, Lucy. I implore you, let me be. You know how devoted I was to poor Mama, don't you?
I do.
You know on Mama's deathbed how all she cared for, all she made me promise her was that I would fulfill her dream of perpetuating the aristocracy.
And you can do that.
I can't do it if I'm not married to the Duchess. I'd go down in infamy. The whole family name would be stained.
Don't have to marry me, George. You just have to let your cousin marry my daughter. That is it. That's all I'm asking.
Miss Marple, yes.
Thank you for coming to my parlor. We're going to be visited by someone that I'd like to speak with soon, and well, since the detective inspector is going to be retiring, I intend to groom you in his place.
Miss Marple, this is quite a surprise, a pleasant one. I'm very honored.
Well, I just want to make sure you're up to the task, because you see, so long as I live in this town, and so long as people keep murdering other people, we will need a team.
Yes, absolutely, yes. I will do anything that you ask.
Wonderful. So, in just any moment, Beatrice will be coming in here, and so you will question her.
Very well. I shall do no less.
Oh, Miss Marple.
Oh, yes, Beatrice, come in, my child.
So thank you for letting me visit visit you in your home. Oh,
Yes.
hello.
Hello, sit down.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. What a lovely cottage you have. I have never been inside your home.
Shocking.
You know, I love the way that you frame your knitted sweaters. And look, they're of different sizes.
You like sweaters, don't you not? Yes, you like them because you get cold, because you're cold-hearted! You're cold-hearted!
Darling.
Oh my! Oh, how does he know? Jean.
I apologize, I did not mean to. I did not mean to, yes.
Not that way either.
Oh, tea, please.
My dear.
Oh, yes.
Listen and learn. My dear.
Yes.
I understand that you know quite a bit about the Duke and the Duchess.
Well, I do.
Yes, you used to play with their children when you were little.
I did. We did. The three of us would play. Often we'd play with the ducks on the pond. We would take sticks and we would poke at them. And I became quite attracted and loving with the ducks while they turned away from them.
Well, tell me a little bit about your relationship with your uncle.
Oh, yes. Well, sometimes it's a bit contentious, you see. I don't know why, but I sense that he's somehow jealous of me, and I can't imagine why. You see, I came to the family after my parents deceased in a mysterious alpine skiing accident. So I was sent to live with the Duchess and the Duke.
And as I understand it, your father was his older brother.
Indeed he was.
So in fact, your father would have been the Duke.
Well, I suppose so. You know, I never did quite understand the heritage of the royal family. All I know is that they always told me that I was simply a lady thrice removed.
Oh.
And I know not quite exactly what that means, but I know it's that I don't get to go places. Or I don't get to wear any kind of a crown or anything of that such.
And this was upsetting to you, of course.
Well, you know, as a child, I thought, well, that's just who I am. But as I grew older and I began to see that they got better toys, they had better shoes, and Eugenia, well, she got to travel.
My dear, I've done a bit of digging. I went to the St. Mary Mead Library today just to brush up on my knowledge of the lineage of the Duke and Duchess and the Dutchy of this county. And, well, it was a mysterious accident, you say, of your parents.
Yes, indeed.
But my darling, I know your father to have died in the war.
No.
Yes.
No.
You were being lied to.
No.
Yes.
Oh.
And in fact, your father would have been the Duke.
Do you mean all this time that I've been living in the tiny little cottage behind their large palace, that I'm the one that should have been entitled all this time?
Well, no, because your father died.
Oh.
And so it did pass to your uncle.
Oh.
But my point is that you were, well, maybe you were always seen as a little bit of a threat.
Oh. Okay, then. Maybe I was. Does that mean that I get to wear a crown?
My dear, I think our interrogation with her is over.
Very good.
Please, have a seat. I imagine you were surprised to hear from me and to be invited here to my private garden tea table.
I was surprised, but it was quite fortuitous as I was about to call you to meet.
Were you?
Yes.
Well,
Why did you call me?
perhaps I shall allow you to go first.
Well, I have some news that I think you should be aware of.
Do you?
As you know, or maybe you don't actually, I deem
deeply, deeply in mourning over the loss of Alfred.
Yes,
As maybe you don't know, he was my betrothed.
I do know.
But there is something I must inform you of. You see, that afternoon that you had the conversation in this very garden about him needing to marry out of royalty, or marry into, and stay royalty, I was eavesdropping. I heard everything that you said.
Yes, well.
And so, immediately after your meeting with Alfred, we went to the courthouse and were married.
Oh.
I'm your daughter-in-law.
That makes things terribly complicated.
I'm sure that you're not happy about this, but the law is the law.
Well, you see, dear, there was another reason why I was forbidding my son to marry you. There are several things about me, about the Duke, that the people don't know. Oh, there are rumors, but if they were ever confirmed to be true, all hell would break loose on so many circles that seats of royalty across the nation might fall. You see, my sainted mother was really a tainted mother.
In what way? Tell me.
My mother was not faithful to her husband. She had an affair, and I am not the true son of the prior Duke.
You're a fraud. Oh.
Yes. My real father was a local postal worker.
Or is it just coincidence there that Alfred? Or is it in his genes?
That postal worker had 2 children, a son and a daughter.
You're going to have to spell this out.
You are my sister!
Kill me now, God!
Don't wish it.
Oh, you're right on that one. I've heard such horrible things about you.
I'm a terrible man, but I want to be a good man. My entire fortune has been based on a lie. I know that I was not supposed to be the real Duke, but when it came to my attention that I was not of royal birth, and that I wasn't even supposed to inherit the title at all. You see, I had an older brother who died in the war, but it was not an accident. I was in the war too.
Killed your brother?
I killed my brother.
Stephanie! Why, thank you for allowing me into your wonderful home.
Can I get you some tea?
That would be quite lovely, dear.
Oh, yes, you seem left-handed, and I've just got a bit of a...
Well, I have the time, but... Well, actually, I don't. Well, you see,
It's a bit a spot of tea, a literal spot. Anyway, go on, Inspector.
Well, you see, in just a few days' time, I shall be embarking on a journey around the world, and why I know that you are a cultured woman.
Yes.
You have traveled so much. Well, I've heard that you have... Your hand twitching is quite distracting.
I'll put it behind me.
Now I understand that you have some connection with strange means of murder. And you see, we've come to one man who's found dead by a pond and the other one flattened as if a Swedish pancake.
Oh, yes. Well, actually, I was the murder expert in Ethiopia.
Yes, what a peculiar title that was. Could you please elaborate on it while I
Oh,
read this?
I would love to, yes. So, I, as a young child, seemed to have an affinity for murder, right? But not my own murder, just finding things murdered and having a great interest in them. It started with raccoons and cats and possums, and I would find the little animals and do a full-on investigation of the cause of death. And you see, I just took up quite a liking to it, and word got around the town quickly. It was a small village in Ethiopia, and it was there that they decided they needed an expert in death. And so I was the right one for the job. So I quickly went from small rodents on to human beings. And it was there, in that time, that I made a name for myself as the death expert. Makes total sense, yes?
Perfect sense. Now, changing subject, I wonder about this upcoming marriage between you and Beatrice. It's quite
Yes,
stark.
the Duke's niece. Beatrice, yes. Well, I did tell my mother that I was disowning my Ethiopian heritage as I didn't feel like I could be completely myself. And so, well, between you and me, Inspector, we are flat broke. And so, my mother has insisted that if we are going to maintain a relationship, I must marry into the dukedom. And
Yes,
so there you go.
I understand all of that, but I want to know how you're feeling.
Oh, well.
Yes, has no one ever thought about how you felt?
Oh no, I mean, I guess I've never been asked how I feel. Oh, how do I feel? Well,
Ladies and gentlemen, how does she feel? Can you guess? Distraught.
oh, I'm feeling so distraught about it all, to be honest. You see, I don't even think that I'm attracted to women. And, you know, I mean, maybe marriage isn't really about love or attraction, but I like to think that it is. But I want to be a good daughter for my mother, and I feel that it is necessary for me to do it. But
Beatrice, darling, I have...
I like that you're calling me darling, because I have some words to say to you.
You think I didn't know it was you, don't you?
I do.
Well, I know everything.
And I know something now. You see, I had a conversation with Miss Jane Marple. She told me everything. Your lies. She told me that my father and mother were not killed in a mysterious alpine skiing accident, as you told me, but that he was killed in the war.
I killed your father.
You are an abomination, a beast.
And I'm marrying you off to a woman.
Well, that's okay, you see, I like women. But the killing of my father, how dare you?
Listen.
I will listen to you.
This family has grown up under the most awful of circumstances. We stand here, a pillar of the community, pristine and shined by age and reputation, but our origins were awful. Our origins were those of murder and crime and lust and infidelity, as so many royal families have been in the past. But that's not what's important. What's important is that we mean something to the people. They look to us for a moral center to follow. And even though we might be hollow on the inside, They can't see the inside. They only see what's on the outside, the facade, you see. And it is important not just for us, not just for me. It is important for England that we maintain that facade.
You are a facade, a fake.
Yes.
And I will tell you that growing up in this family, I was watching the entire time. And I was different, and I knew it. I knew that I was different than you, and deep inside, that I was truer and better. And I don't care what the people think.
Listen to me. You like women.
I do. That is why I have never married, you see.
But here is an opportunity for all of our problems to go away. You see, the woman that I want you to marry is in fact very wealthy. If you marry her, then the financial hole that has been engulfing this family, unknown to all, shall be filled. We shall be whole again. We'll sell it off as a new modern way of life. The people will love it.
Uncle, I will not marry unless it's for love. You cannot force me to marry anyone.
You cannot force me to marry anyone. After that declaration, someone in our story was found to be dead. But who do you think it was?
Oh.
My dear friends, can you guess who in our story was found to be murdered?
Beatrice.
Say it again. It was
Beatrice.
the Duke. And that fraudster's body was discovered like this.
Beatrice! Yes, Aunt Elizabeth. Beatrice, something awful has happened.
Oh dear. It can't be as bad as my day. But go ahead.
Well, darling, I need to tell you about this because I was thinking, and that doesn't happen very often. But you see, I came into the bedroom and I was looking around for that horrible picture of that horrible woman, Agatha, who I hate so terribly. Well, I loved her, really. But I'd like to just shoot at her with this dart gun every now and again because it clears my mind. But when I came into the bedroom, I saw clutched in George's hand was a portrait of his mother as he lay prone on the ground. And I looked at him and I pried that frame out of his hand to rip it up, and I realized he wasn't breathing. And I thought, and I was talking to George, but he didn't respond. So I took the picture of his mother and I ripped it up in front of him because I knew he was dead. George was dead. Oh, dear. Yes, I would get on. Yes. Oh, Aunt Elizabeth, I know it's awful. I am so sorry.
Oh dear, although I, at some level, am relieved, but...
Oh, and darling, I'm sorry that I looked for those pills that he's been giving me.
Yes.
And I can't find them anywhere, so I know that I'm scatterbrained and I've been forgetting things, but... Darling, I remember everything. I believe you. I believe you, Aunt Elizabeth. George is dead, and my darling Alfred is dead. Oh, and my dear Eugenia. That darling girl is gone. Oh, Aunt Elizabeth, please, you're all I have left.
I'm here for you. We shall stay together.
I do want grandchildren. Can I pretend that you're my daughter?
Constable Fiddlesticks, Constable Withersworth, and Detective Inspector Craddock. Inspector Craddock. Come, all of you. Detective Inspector Craddock. It has been a joy working with you for 15 years. I groomed you when you were little tot, and you asked me what it was to be a suspect. You didn't know the definition of that. But my dear, I am so happy that you're moving on, and I hope that streak of jealousy in you does not rear its ugly head as I begin to groom fiddlesticks.
Yes. Craddock, you will not be disappointed.
Jane, I fear that I've had a change of heart.
No!
Change of heart?
I've been drawn in by this case, and I've renewed my love for solving murders, and I can't see this man take my position, so I'm sorry, Cassandra. We are going to have to cancel our trip around the world. I don't wish to stay on.
Did I raise you to be like that? You're going to break that poor woman's heart?
And mine?
Well, Jane, you see, it feels like this case is out of my hand. I barely feel like I'm solving it. It felt like the Duke was solving it for me, and the two of you, and I only wish that my final case would be one that I was proud of. Perhaps I've been rash. Should the four of us work together and find an end to all of this violence?
Well, Craddock, Miss Marple, I am one that always does enjoy good partnership and to solve and find justice for what's right. So, count me in.
Excuse me.
Constable Armsworth.
Yes, Constable Armsworth, just assigned to the case. Oh, well, who are you, my plucky?
Well, my name is Cassandra, and I'm engaged to Inspector Craddock.
Is that a fact?
Yes.
Well, we'll see about that, won't we?
I beg your pardon.
That's all right, my dear. That's all right. We have time.
Armsworth, my good man, I don't believe that you've been through the introductory course of how to defend yourself in St. Mary Mead's police officery.
Well, no,
do you mind if I demonstrate to you?
Sure.
All right. Well, in this case, I will be the assailant. Okay. Now, if you dare cross my love, then there shall be hell to pay. I don't care where I am in the world, good sir. I should be in Antarctica, and I would come back here and toss your little head out.
Inspector, please, don't hurt him.
It was merely a demonstration.
What a coincidentally specific role-playing scenario.
Armsworth, is it?
Yes.
We're delighted to see you join the fun.
Yes, thank you.
Did you have something for us, Armsworth? Something relevant to the case?
Oh, yes. As a matter of fact, I did. The murder victim found floating in the pond.
Yes.
With the ducks on him.
Yes.
Yes. On careful examination of his esophagus, we discovered this page of a book that was crumpled up with a red circle around the word murder.
How incriminating. Thank you very much for this piece of evidence.
Yes. I'll see you around, won't I?
Never you mind that.
You around as well.
Steady on.
Well, my time here is done. I shall be off. I give you this piece of incriminating evidence. Apparently our murderer is a dimwit.
Beatrice, so lovely to meet you. Please come into my parlor.
Oh, thank you, Stephanie.
Can I get you some tea?
Oh, I would love some.
Sure.
With your lovely hand. It's lovely the
I'm
way it's
so
shaped.
ashamed of it. Everything about me is wrong.
Do you hear? I heard music just now. As if some Cupid were shooting an arrow through my heart.
You really think so?
And some
something I've never felt before.
Me too.
This isn't tea.
Yes, indeed.
Perhaps you pour the tea.
Oh, I would be happy to.
Oh, thank you.
Please, sit. You sit this time, and I'll pour the tea.
Oh, so Beatrice, I was quite trepidatious about our meeting, but
I'll put it here.
oh, thanks, good
This
idea.
one. You were trepidatious, you were saying.
I was, but just well, as soon as I laid eyes upon you, all of my fears and insecurities just flew out that window.
Why, I felt something whoosh by me. Darling, my dear, you're so lovely. How could you possibly have any sort of insecurities? You're certainly a lovely, beautiful human being.
Oh, that's so sweet. My whole life I was told I was someone I wasn't, and I was trying to fit into a role that was not for me.
My dear, I have recently found that I have lived a similar life. You know, we have a lot in common.
I suppose we do.
You know, the day that I saw you and your mother come and I leased the small cottage to you, I was struck by you and I thought, oh, how strange indeed. What an exotic, lovely creature. And here you sit before me. But we do share something. I had a similar strange upbringing where I believed I was something and recently found out that I was something else altogether.
Oh, I thought no one else understood what I was going through. Oh my goodness, for the first time, I feel like I can be my true self. You see, my mother, my whole life has been making me into someone I am not, and she told me that I don't get to say who I am, and well, I thought that was normal.
My dear, have a lady finger.
Gloria and Princess, thank you so much for meeting me here by the pond. I come here on Sundays to feed the ducks.
I've always liked feeding ducks.
You see, my dears, I was visiting Elizabeth recently, and she told me about your situation having married Alfred. Yes, I wanted you all to confront this together.
What? See, I married Alfred. And I am his grieving widow.
What does that mean?
It means he died and I was married to him, so now I
know what that means. Are you saying that you are now in that family?
Yes, I am in that family, but it doesn't mean a thing to me. I don't care about royalty or faux royalty. I just want love. And I want to feed the ducks. I don't want to feed the ducks. I want to just have love and to work at my makeup company. That's all I want.
Phil, this is very peculiar.
Well, I'm sure it is for you.
Well, it is very peculiar because my understanding was that there was a contract and an agreement. And if you're the sole, I don't even know how to say it.
You were betrayed.
I was betrayed.
Oh, most definitely betrayed.
How does that make you feel? Yes, this bench side. Come, sit on the bench.
Well, I feel tingling. I feel tingling.
Where?
My upper nose.
Yeah.
I feel sad. I feel angry. That's how I feel. I feel angry because there's more.
What?
It's just a story filled with inappropriateness.
Well, then pray tell.
I'm sure Miss Marple knows.
Of course I know. See, your family, and I can't quite recount how your family.
There was the Duke and I had relations, and Stephanie, my daughter, is his daughter.
Ew.
And you
Oh.
are his sister.
Yes, I know. Oh.
And that means you married your
Interesting
nephew.
incest. My dears, I'm bringing you out here so that you can confront each other and know that you're related in family somehow.
Hello, Auntie?
Well,
I don't know what you are to me, but family is very important. And I think we need to put whatever uncomfortable conflict is presenting itself away.
Well, then you should know that you're penniless.
You see, no one understands. I don't care about the money. I was with Alfred because I was in love with him. He was a postal worker, for God's sake. I make more money selling eyeshadow. And maybe you should learn a lesson from that.
I learned no lessons from any of this.
Then you will not end up well. There is more important things in this world than money.
Are you threatening me?
No.
I believe she's advising you on feminist ways of the 1950s. Independence.
Oh, well, I can be independent.
Yes, you can. I'm sure you can.
Well, then, I guess my only role is to
what?
love my daughter and hope that she finds love.
Oh, my girls, let's go back to my place for some tea.
Oh, thank you, Miss Marple, for this reunion.
Jane! Oh, I see the tea is still out from that
Yes,
party.
yes, the ladies were just here leaving. My dear, there's been a break in the case.
I should hope so. Why, I have nigh on 5 hours before I'm supposed to get on that boat to Africa.
I wish for you to meet me at the Duke and Duchess's house, just outside. Listen in from the window. I will be over there shortly. So why don't you go and wait outside the window?
I shall do that.
And so I made my way over to the Duke and Duchess's place.
Yes, Miss Marple. Jane, it's nice to see you. As you can see, I'm still breathing.
I as well. My dears. Awful, awful tragedy.
It is terrible.
I said our murder was a dimwit, but, well, you're quite the mastermind, aren't you?
Oh.
You are not forgetful.
No,
I was tricking you that day.
you're quite right.
The doctor and I did not have such a conversation. Why did you do it? Your husband, your daughter, your son, although I can guess, you knew about all the infidelities, didn't you?
I'll tell you exactly why. Every night, I go upstairs and I open up a photo album and I go through them all the pictures of the family. And I look for Agatha and I cut out her picture from every single photograph that I can find. And one day, I kept going back into those photographs. And I went back a few, maybe perhaps 20 years, and I found pictures of babies I didn't recognize. They weren't my babies, they weren't Alfred, they weren't Eugenia. They were George's. I recognized them because they had some weird little hand thing that showed up in the pictures.
In the still pictures?
Yes, in the still pictures. And I'm looking at these pictures and I'm going, that man's been cheating on me. These are his babies, not mine. And so I accidentally murdered Alfred.
Oh.
And then I realized I should have killed Eugenia because I thought those are his babies, but I think they were actually mine, you see. And it was just an accident because he had been feeding me these pills, and I had forgotten. And so I thought And so when I followed him up into the bedroom and he went up to worship those pictures of his mother, I took his throat and I made him look at me. And I twisted his It was so gratifying.
I've heard quite enough. Officers, in here. Apprehend the Duchess.
Mom, your hand. He deserved to die.
Duchess Elizabeth, I must say that I looked up to you and your family my entire life. It tears me apart to know that someone deeply related to the royal lineage could be so foul.
Well, darling, then you haven't met Prince Edward.
Oh dear. Out of tragedy, a phoenix rises. That means you are the true heiress. It passes to you.
Oh, Miss Marple?
Yes, this meaningless title is now yours.
Oh my! But I actually have a title now.
Yes.
What am I then?
The Duchess.
Duchess. Oh my! Oh,
that means your intended is
the Duke.
Duke.
How lovely! You know, it is time for change in our society.
I agree.
And as I told my late uncle, I don't care what the people think, because I think love is most important. And so, I've asked her to marry me, Stephanie!
I brought my love with me too.
Oh yes, it's to be. We are to be married. I'm so happy.
And I have made a decision. I would like to join the police force as a death expert.
Oh, lovely, lovely, lovely.
This is all so wonderful. Would you mind? I've mere minutes before I must flee this country, but I would wish for some time alone with Miss Jane Marple, for I have a surprise for her.
We have much to get to the garden. Yeah, let's go.
How strange for us to continue to sit in their living room.
Well, Jane, you see, it's quite interesting that Duchess Elizabeth mentioned that I have never met Prince Edward, because I, in fact, have. You see, our 15 years working together, I have seen you solve innumerable murders. And I thought that the country should know that Miss Jane Marple is perhaps their most valuable asset. And while I vamp, while the prince who is here gets ready, I must tell you that today, on my last day in this country, I shall see it that you, Miss Jane Marple, become a dame.
Dame!
I believe I hear him coming now. The trotting of his hooves, the hooves of his horses. Oh, here he comes in all his splendor.
I get to meet Prince Edward the First.
Prince! Yes? Please compose yourself, Your Majesty. This is the woman who I've written to you about. Hello. Well, Jane, I thought this would be a rather touching affair.
Yes.
It
Come
appears
here, darling.
Prince is drunk.
Do I get on my knee?
Will you be able to get up again?
No.
Then don't.
Well, Prince, I realize you're supposed to knight her with a sword, but in this condition, I rather...
Yes, get me a...
I have a knitting needle.
Yes, get me a knitting needle. Hello.
Make it mine, it'll mean more. Yes, thank you.
I dub thee Dame Jane Marple.
Marple.
Marple. May you forever shine bright in the English sky.
Oh dear. Thank you so much. Quite an honor. I know I said it was a meaningless title, but quite really I'm touched. And what will you do now? Your lady? Your travels?
Our bags are packed.
Craddock, I've had the most wonderful discovery. The country of Ethiopia. Do you realize it's the only country that's never been colonized in Africa? Do you realize they withstood the Italians? Do you realize they made stone churches out of the earth, Lalabella? It's the magnificent country. We must go. Egypt can wait.
Well, let me take this, for you'll be needing it no more.
Oh, my darling, this will be a wonderful adventure.
Well, we're off to Ethiopia, Jane. Dame! Jane Marple.
Jane!
Adieu. And so, my friends, with that, we bid adieu to the wonderful Detective Inspector Craddock and his new wife. And murder did continue in St. Mary Mead, and with my new duo partnership with Fiddlesticks, we were always on the case. The end.